In this video, I am on page 55 of the workbook, and we're still studying cells, but we're looking at some specific parts of a cell. And these are terms that you may have never heard before, you may never hear again, but they are important if you're going to work with biology. So page 55 says, how do organelles help a cell function? Humans have about 200 different types of cells in their bodies performing different jobs. Within each cell, there are roughly 20 different types of organelles. An organelle is a structure within a cell that serves a specific function. So the definition, there's the linking verb, is a structure within a cell that serves a specific function. And that's the definition that we want to write. So on your flashcard for organelle, I always thought of these as like little mini organs. Your brain is an organ in your body. A cell's brain is called its nucleus. So these are like the little organs inside a cell. It is a structure in a cell that serves a specific function. I would have said that performs a specific function. So let me go back just a second to that picture we have on page 59. If you zoom in here, all of these arrows are pointing to organelles. Most people think of a nucleus. If you're talking about a cell, especially in forensic science, you look in the nucleus of a cell for the DNA, the genetic information. That's the best part of a cell. But you have lots of different structures in a cell that you can that do specific jobs for the cell. When I was teaching every day, I had my students to make a model of a cell. We used Jello as our jelly part, and that's called the cytoplasm. But we used like macaroni to represent the different pieces of the cell, and that gave them a very good idea of what a cell would look like magnified millions of times. Here's a plant cell. You see that the plant cell also has a nucleus. There are studies in criminology where suspects have been matched to crime scenes by taking the DNA from a plant's nucleus. The cells in the plants have nuclei. You open those up and you can get the DNA from the plant. So some of these structures are similar, some are not, and we'll look at those as we go through. All right. A cell membrane. Let's look at this one. It says each cell has a membrane. Anytime you see membrane, think of skin. That's a good sort of synonym. A cell membrane is, so here comes the definition of a cell membrane, the outer layer of the cell. This person's grammar is atrocious. I did not write this. A cell membrane is the outer layer of a cell, and it holds the cell together. I would not have worded it that way, but they definitely need a comma right there. So cell membrane, I also would not have used this font. It's incredibly hard to read. But the information's good. It's very clear and to the point. They don't go on and on about stuff. Is the outer layer of a cell. Think of it as the cell's skin. It holds the cell together, keeps it from falling apart, holds everything in, just like the skin on your body holds everything in. Nutrients can pass into the cell through its membrane, and waste can pass out, just like our bodies. If you go outside into the sun, you are absorbing vitamin D, which is a nutrient. You're probably also going to sweat, which is putting out waste products from your cells. So a membrane is like a skin. All cells also have a nucleus. Again, that is not true. Red blood cells do not have a nucleus. There are other things that don't have a nucleus. This person did not do the research. The cell's nucleus acts like the brain of the cell. It controls what the rest of the cell does. The cell's nucleus holds the information which tells the cell how to act. Full stop. So a nucleus has several functions, and these are all true. It is the brain of the cell. It's the control center of the cell. It controls what the entire cell does. It holds information which tells the cell how to act. So here's the definition of a nucleus that I want you to use. To me, with my personal background, the nucleus is the most important part of the cell, because that's where the genetic information is housed. It's stored in the nucleus. It's the brain. If the membrane is the skin, it's the cell's brain. It is the control center of the cell. Okay. So the nucleus is sort of like ground zero. That's where the cell is controlled. Cells also have a cytoplasm, which is a thick jelly-like solution that fills each cell and includes all of the matter inside the cell. That's where we want to stop. Cytoplasm is mostly water, salt, and protein. We're going to summarize this. You don't have to copy all that. Cyto, cell. Plasm, jelly. So this is cell jelly. This is why I chose Jello for my students' experiment. So get that image in your mind of clear Jello. That's sort of what cytoplasm is like. So cytoplasm is cell jelly. And here's my definition. It is a jelly-like substance that fills a cell. That part is exact. All of this is true. I'm just paraphrasing. A cell. It gives the cell shape. And I think that's all you need. You don't have to know water, salt, and protein. That's fine if you do, but while both cells, and I think what they're talking about here, are plant and animal. I don't know how we're supposed to know that. This is the first time I've used this material. So, while plant and animal cells have a membrane, a nucleus, and a cytoplasm, there are materials that are unique to animal and plant cells specifically. Some other organelles that these cells share are nuclear membranes, and I didn't make that a flashcard because if you think about it, you know what this means. Nuclear is nucleus and membrane is skin. So this is the skin around that nucleus. Endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, and mitochondrion. Okay, so let's talk about these for just a minute. First is endoplasmic reticulum, and that's a mouthful. We usually just abbreviate that ER. So let me tell you about the endoplasmic reticulum. And before I do that, let's break down the word endoplasmic. Reticulum. Okay, I have to stop and look at that one. Endo, whenever you see it, means inner or inside. Plasm, remember, is jelly. So the endoplasmic reticulum is located inside that jelly, inside the cytoplasm. And there are actually two types. I am going to go ahead and tell you the two types. Let me think how I want to do this. Let's do it by two types. There is what's called the rough ER, the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And its job, I'll show you, let me just go to the diagram just a minute. It looks like a ribbon that's lying inside the cell, and this is not the best diagram of that at all. I guess right here is what they're pointing to. But the endoplasmic reticulum, to me, in my mind, looks more like this. It's like you put a ribbon down into the cell. And when we made our models, we used spaghetti. That was the endoplasmic reticulum. And on that strand of stuff, there are these dots. Millions of these little dots lying in that cell jelly. And the purpose of the rough ER, it's rough because it has the dots on there. These little dots are the ribosomes that we haven't defined yet. I'm about to define it for you right here. Ribosomes build protein. Your body is made of protein. It's put together with protein. So those little dots build protein. And that's the purpose of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. And then you have a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And it looks very similar under a microscope. I still see that ribbon like that. Just doesn't have the dots on it. And it has a very different purpose. Its purpose is to put together fat. And those fats build new membranes. So when the cell's skin is wearing out and it needs new skin, the smooth ER puts together fats to help make that new skin. So the endoplasmic reticulum is either rough or smooth, is involved in construction of new cells. Proteins, new membranes, it's making parts for new cells. Very important part of your body. Ribosomes. We've already defined that, but I'll go ahead and do it right here. Ribosome, plural, singular, is a structure that builds proteins. Our bodies would not function without proteins. And I'll pull the picture up. Let me go ahead and give you mitochondria, and then we'll look at the picture. First of all, mitochondrion is singular. It's a singular noun. It's one. So mitochondrion is a structure, one structure. And this is the reason I'm giving you these. This one doesn't define these parts. It just mentions them. So because this material that I'm using is about 9th grade, I want to go a little beyond that. I want you to have the 12th grade version. Mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell. It is a structure that converts glucose that we get from our food to energy. So a person whose mitochondria do not function properly will be tired. They're not going to have strength, energy to do what they need to do. The plural, which is almost always what you see, because you rarely talk about one mitochondrion, is mitochondria. Millions of them, the plural. So mitochondria are the powerhouses of cells. And I'll show you a picture. My stuff is falling everywhere, so let's go back to our picture. And here's the animal cell. The mitochondrion is right here. One of those. That little zigzaggy thing usually indicates energy. And then the ribosomes are these little peppery looking things, these little dotty things. Remember, they make proteins. Cytoplasm is this purple, the jelly part. We've talked about the nucleus. And we're getting to these other things. There's the rough and the smooth ER. Alright, back over here to our terms. Animal cells also have lysosomes, cilia, and usually have centrioles too. Plant cells are unique also in that they have a cell wall and chloroplasts. A plant's cell wall, and notice this is not present in animal cells, there's the linking verb, a strong layer outside of a cell's membrane. So cell wall is only found in plants. It is a strong layer outside of the membrane. So it's outside the cell skin. And we'll look at the picture. It can be sturdy, bendable, and sometimes stiff. It provides plant cells with an extra layer of protection and support. It also acts as a stronger filter than the cell membrane. And remember that plants are locked in place. They can't run from attackers. They can't, if they get knocked over in the wind, they have to stand themselves up. So that's where this plant's cell wall comes into play. And we'll look at that picture in just a second. Chloroplasts, plural, and there's the linking verb are organelles that can be found in plant cells to help with the act of photosynthesis. Chloroplasts generate food for the plant by absorbing sunlight and using it in combination with water and carbon dioxide. So we're going to shorten this a little bit. Chloroplasts they're structures that help plants make food. That's their job. They trap sunlight. Plants need sunlight to be a catalyst for that food making process. Chloroplasts trap that sunlight. You will not find chloroplasts in animal cells. Alright, plant cells also have vacuoles that store food, water, and waste because plants have to store larger amounts of food than animals do. Animals roam around and get what they want, but plants can't do that. So plants have very large vacuoles. Those are the storage containers. They store nutrients, we'll call it food, water for the plant, and waste. If you've ever seen a plant that has wilted, that is because its vacuoles have shrunk. They have been reduced in size. So let me flip over there. We'll look at a picture and you'll see what I mean. So we need to look at cell wall, chloroplasts, and vacuoles. Back to our plant cell. You see the cell wall is this black ring around the plant. The purple ring around the plant is the membrane. So the cell wall is outside of the membrane. This big red area is a vacuole. That's where the plant stores water, food, and when the plant wilts, that vacuole shrinks down very tiny, very small. Chloroplasts are these bean-looking things, the yellow, green looking ones. Remember, these are your mitochondria. Where you see a zigzag, that's energy. Chloroplasts trap sunlight for the plant to make food. Animal cells do have vacuoles, but they're very small and they're not nearly as common. The animals just don't need the vacuoles like plants do. Okay, I think I'm going to stop this video and then we'll finish up in the next segment.